Crystal, off-grid at the Rain Dance Ranch. We're heading into winter. We're here at the end of October. Things are chilly, but we still have a lot of sunny days. And I have been able to keep my Delta 2 with my battery going without having to plug it into my generator. My propane gas dual power generator that I have as backup. I do anticipate having a few days where I may need to utilize that. And so I'm ready for that. And then sometimes you get busy and you forget to charge up one of your power stations. Because I don't keep all of them. I have 3 power stations and I don't keep them hooked up to solar panels. Like you would with a regular system that everybody knows and loves, and they're awesome and everything. But if you know what you're doing, you can have you would need an inverter, the controller, you'd need some batteries, and then some solar panels, and some cords, and probably a load panel. Although I'm not using a load panel, and I have had that system hooked up, but we've disconnected it, which is a story for another day. These panels here, and I've got 2 more over there that are not in use, were on a motorhome that was sitting adjacent to this, what I call the Lost Surfer Shack, which I purchased that came with the property. And it was kind of a neat idea and everything, but oh look, there's my new kitten. He just showed up. And there's another kitten running around that was in my wall, and I need to figure out how to keep him from going in the wall. But he seems to be able to get in and out okay, so I'm not going to worry about him. Again, a story for another day. But these solar panels were on top of that motorhome that I had removed, and so I ended up utilizing them with my Delta 2. And the reason that I'm not using at least one more of those other ones is because the Delta 2 can only take 500 watts of solar panels, and each one of these panels is 250 watts. So the good news is that these panels, even with our inclement weather that we've been having, are doing great. Like this, it is keeping me going. I'm never worried. And the main reason why I'm never worried is because if we do have some crazy weather where we literally don't get any sun, and there's no way I'm going to keep this thing charged up enough to keep everything going that I need, I've got that generator. And I mean, if you haven't seen Curtis Stone, Off Grid with Curtis Stone, you should see his solar panel system. And even he, with his mega solar panel system, needs to, have some other form of energy. And I can't recall what he does. He probably does something like with the generator. His is much more advanced than what I have, and he's got more going on at his place. But, yeah, I mean, it's just inevitable that there's going to be a time where you're just not keeping enough energy. You're not able to replenish your batteries with solar alone. And that's usually, for most people in the Northern Hemisphere, during the months of possibly December, January, February. Maybe going a little into November. And it might not be for that whole period, but, those colder months, obviously. Now, I do live in Arizona, and we get a lot of sun. And there's a possibility that I may only need to use my gas generator to keep this charged up a handful of times. because now I am new to this particular area that I'm in, but I grew up not too far from here, and we get a lot of snowfall in that town, but a lot of sun in between. And I remember that, and I remember my teachers growing up talking about that. So Arizona is kind of a special place. We don't have a lot of water, but we got a lot of sun. So it'll be interesting to see how this fares over the winter. Now, let me tell you what happens with this. So usually I wake up in the morning, and this is somewhere, these percentages here, this is the battery capacity, like what, how much it's charged by percent. It's usually in the 60s. Now, we had a lot of clouds yesterday, and it really didn't charge up that much, but last couple days I don't remember exactly what it did the last couple days, but it's not been charging up to 100%, I think, for the last couple days. Definitely not yesterday. So this morning when I woke up, it was in the 40 percentile range. Both of these, my battery and my power station. So this is my power station, and then this is just a battery. And it's, if I didn't mention already, this is the Delta 2 and the battery that comes with the Delta 2, and they're real new. I've only been using them for a couple months, and I use them every day, and I bought them brand new straight from EcoFlow. I think I got them in August. Sorry. I think I purchased them in July, but it took a little while for them to get to me. So, they're working for what I need. Now, I realized right away how important it is to have a high solar panel capacity. And I was a little concerned and disappointed in myself. Not really disappointed in myself, but I'm like, well, that's what you get for not knowing. Because I really didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I tried to study this stuff, like how these things work and what's really going to work for me. And my goal is to just help newbies understand through this video what they could expect with Delta 2 and a battery and the full 500 watts coming in. Like, is that going to work for you? Are you going to be able to survive in a situation with this? And I'm here to tell you, yes, you can. However, I still recommend getting, in addition to this, I would always recommend getting a dual fuel generator. Now, is this thing on? Yeah. With that said, let me tell you what I'm using to survive on this. In terms of energy that I use out of this. Little refrigerator. Now, I think most refrigerators, refrigerators are intermittent users, right? So, this thing, when it's drawing right now, it looks like. Oh, no. Well, let me turn this light off. Let's see, that's just going in. So, as you can see here, that 79 is the output, and it's going into the battery. So, I'm not drawing anything from my little refrigerator. But I highly recommend that you start with some kind of a smallish refrigerator. And just as a side note, get a smallish, in the beginning until you figure things out. I mean, maybe you don't need to, or you don't have to, but I'm just saying if you're kind of questioning things until you learn more, and you want to be prudent with your money and all that, get like a small freezer. Like one of those, what do you call it? The top open type of freezer. Which incidentally can also be, I think almost all of them can be converted into a refrigerator. So you don't have to keep things frozen in them. But you want to keep, if you want to have more cooling capacity, you can have one of those freezers and then just transfer things into the refrigerator, as you need, or utilize your refrigerator space for like, your pre-cooked meals or something that you then heat up later or something like that, and various other things. I mean, there's a lot of different strategies, but the idea is you still want to use, my goal was not to copycat the on-grid kitchen standards of America, which is, a refrigerator that's at least twice the size, if not like maybe 3 times that size. And I think those I just saw typically might pull something like 500 watts intermittently versus the slightly under 100 watts that this pulls. See where we're at. Yeah, okay. So now we've got the sun came out again, and we've got the input coming in. Oh, it's going down. It was up at 4 for a second, and then and the cloud coverage came back. So my goal was not to, have everything exactly the way I had it when I had a kitchen in the city on the grid. So the reason why I got this is because I knew I didn't want to draw as much energy, and I'm real happy with the just under 100 watts of intermittent draw that this takes from my battery. And this is keeping my refrigerator going perfect. Now, I just want to mention, when I did not have these solar panels in use with the Delta 2, when everything was, being deconstructed out here, it took a couple weeks to get everything set up. I was using a 220 watt bifacial portable folding solar panel that I purchased with this as like a bundle. So I got, the solar panel I think I bought extra. It was all on sale. I spent, just FYI, I think it was in July, like I said earlier, I think it was $1,600 plus tax so it was closer to $1,700 to purchase the power station, the battery, and then that folding 220 watt bifacial panel. And that just wasn't enough panel wattage to keep this thing going. And also it was hot, so I was using an evap cooler for roughly 3, sometimes 4 hours a day, and it was using a lot of water for one thing. Maybe 4 gallons of water I was dumping into that thing, but you needed it. It was pretty hot in here. And and that thing was using around 100 watts continuously. Now, intermittently, I would turn that down to just fan, and on the low setting of fan, and the watt pull would be closer to 70. But, then it would still kind of get hot again, so then I turn it back on to the evap. So that's kind of what I was doing, and I was just, it's like I spent my life just trying to conserve energy but stay cool. And I had to, there was a couple weeks there where there was 3 times where I had to unplug my refrigerator in favor of my swamp cooler. And I was able to barely keep this thing going. And I think there was a few times where there was like a couple days where I literally ran out of energy on this. Now, luckily I did have my other EcoFlow the Delta 1, which held me over. So I highly recommend that if you're going to go with the power station route like I have, which frankly I think is economical, efficient, useful. They're still going to be useful even if you're going to invest another 5 or 10 grand in, you know, something involving the separate inverter and the controller, and you're going to buy batteries, which are not cheap. Okay, so these are still useful. Okay, so you're still going to use them, and you're going to be glad you have them. And this, so, you know, my recommendation overall, even though I'm not quite done explaining everything, my recommendation overall is that you at least get something like this Delta 2 with the extra battery, possibly maybe the Delta 2 Max with an extra battery would be better, but that's going to be maybe $800 to $1,000 more spendy. So if you're also trying to be conservative, this is working, okay, with just the 500 watt panels. Because here's the difference between the Delta 2 and the Delta 2 Max is the Delta 2 Max can take 1,000 watts of panels. So, and it has a higher capacity. So you're just going to be able to get more energy in the day put into your batteries, right? You're going to be able to recharge your batteries faster, and it's got more. And I wish I had gotten that one. But now that I've spent all this money on all this solar, and I feel like I've got things under control, and I have that gas generator, I'm not ready to just jump in and get the Delta 2 Max right now. Instead, I'm actually looking at getting the Delta 3. And one of the reasons, this is one of the other kind of points I wanted to hit about utilizing these EcoFlow Deltas, is that, so on the front of the EcoFlow Delta 2 here, and the Delta 1 is like this, and the Delta 2 Max is like this, I believe. There's no AC plug, just these USBs. And that's great and everything. And then, of course, you've got your screen here that gives you your stats. Then you come over here to the side, and this is goes into the battery. And back here is where you plug everything in, including right here the solar panels. So this is working fine for me leaving everything plugged in. But when I first came here, my Delta 1 was losing charge very quickly. Like if I left something plugged into it and turned it off, my Delta 1 was somewhere in the high 50s one night, and I was staying in a hotel when I first started coming here and trying to get everything ready. And I thought, great, I can use it. I have plenty to use tomorrow, and I'm going to hook it up to my little solar panel and recharge it. And I thought, you know, the next day I'd be okay, right? And then I might even be able to get this thing, it wasn't this, it was my Delta 1. And I'd be able to get my Delta 1 charged all the way back up and be able to use my evap cooler and a fan. And so I left those plugged in, turned them off, turned off the Delta 1, and the next morning I show up, 0% battery. So I have some speculations on why that is. And I did buy that one used, so I don't know if it was used properly. That's part of my suspicion. But with this Delta 2, it doesn't seem to have that problem. So I can leave everything plugged in, and it does not seem to be drawing any if it's drawing energy, it might be 1% of each unit here. Worst case scenario, like it's real negligible. And so I've got, and I feel like for what I'm using this for right now, I always have more than I need, and I'm never really stressed out. Again, like I said, there could be a time where there's a long period of cloudiness and I'm going to have to use the generator, but it's been holding strong, and we've had a lot of cloud, but you know, the sun keeps coming back just in time because I live in the sun state. So right now it's overcast and I'm drawing 68. So I'm still drawing even though it's overcast right now. So I kind of am happy about that. So, I mean, it's negligible draw, but draw nonetheless. So here's what I'm using other than this refrigerator, which draws, like I said, intermittently just under 100. It might surge a little over 100, but not much. I'm using this light, and I turn this light on only at night. Obviously, I don't really use lights during the day because I want to conserve the energy. But even if I left this on, which there have been a few days where I forgot and left it on, it really doesn't draw a lot of energy. So I highly recommend the Ott light. In fact, I should call the company and tell them how much I love their lights, and I love this light. It just, you know, I can move this around anywhere I want. Right now I have it facing up, but you can have it facing down. Just do whatever you want with this thing. And it comes in black, which actually I'd like to get a black one because stuff gets real dusty and dirty here. And it's got 3 settings, so that's like a bright. Now, what I do is I leave this on dim, right, at night, and it's like my night light. Because I was using some of these little battery things that you can get at various places, and they come in different styles and stuff. Let me see. See how there's a little light? This part's not working on this particular unit. And those are battery powered, but I was trying to use them as night lights, but they just run out of the batteries, right? And I don't want to have to keep buying the batteries. So I don't like to use those for night lights, but they're great for, you know, when you need a light, right? So I do have a bunch of those, and I believe in having like the regular, you know, Duracell Energizer Bunny batteries that you can get at the store, but they're super expensive. Still handy, good to have backup, but I don't want to have to keep spending money. And this, again, does not draw so much energy out of my batteries, my solar batteries, that it's worth, that it may, I'm just not concerned about it. So I'm super happy. And plus, the other thing about this Ott light is it gives you real light, right? So like if you have these kind of little battery lights, they're more like night lights anyways. I mean, they don't really, it's like you're walking around in dim light. Even if you had 10 of them, they don't give off as much light as this. This is like living on the grid light. And so I do want to buy a bunch more of these. I'm probably going to buy like 4 or 5 more. Whoop, there, I turned it on. Now I use this microwave. This is the only thing I'm using right now for any kind of cooking, which is more like reheating or heating things up. So I use this for maybe 6 minutes a day. Like I heat up my water for my instant coffee, which I'd like to quit soon. But hey, in a pinch, it's all right. Or to heat things up, like, you know, I like to make succotash with a little butter, you know, and you just need to heat it up. I use canned or frozen for that right now. And quesadillas, I like to make quesadillas, or maybe I'll pick up a burrito and some kind of frozen dinners or something. at the grocery store. I mean, I don't eat a lot of that stuff, but sometimes it's just, you're hungry and you need something easy, right? So I always have a little bit of that every week, but, you know, mostly I'm eating salads and things that you don't really necessarily cook. So I'm not using this a lot, like I said, about 6 minutes a day. And this thing draws a lot. I think it's like over 1,000 watts when it's running, but it doesn't really use a lot of percentage of the battery. And then sometimes I charge my phone, on here. And sometimes I charge my phone on my other EcoFlow that I keep by my bed, the Delta One. And, in the future, so what I want to do is I want to keep this as my kitchen energy. So all I need are these 2 solar panels. So I don't need to take up a lot of real estate for solar panels. Now those do need to get lifted up a little bit. I don't want them on a roof scenario, because we already had snow and they get covered in snow, and I don't want those things covered in snow when the sun comes out. And I want to easily be able to come out and remove the snow. And also, excuse me, we have a lot of dust, and I go out a couple times a week and dust them off. So I really don't want them on a roof situation. I know my neighbor has been trying to convince me to do that, but I just kind of want them accessible. And they don't, again, they're not really taking up that much space. And I may turn them vertical too, and just kind of have them on some kind of a stand that I'm going to make with probably some people's help. So I'm going to keep this in here in this is the Lost Surfer Shack, I call it. It was I guess a 5th wheel RV trailer thing, and the people we're trying to turn it into a cabin, which is a really neat idea, and I love it, and I'm really hoping that I can save this building. But the roof leaks all over the place, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done here, and I need to get the place kind of emptied out, and it's just going to be expressly used for kitchen, because there is a water cistern here, there's a shower here, and this wood stove is here. So it's just got all of the stuff that you need. So it's going to be kitchen, shower room. There's some closets in here. I'm going to keep my clothes. And then up there is like a little bedroom. Up in the gooseneck of the trailer. It's super comfy. I love it. But again, I got to fix this place up. And that's going to be my plant room. So I don't want I don't want this to be my sleeping area. I don't mind keeping my clothes in here because they're pretty contained and they'll be protected from dust and whatever, you know, as I'm making improvements to this place. And I'm not going to use it for storage. The only things that are going to be in here are going to be pertaining to taking a shower, plants. Well, I mean, that's kind of adding up, right? All my kitchen stuff. And some food storage. And the food storage is going to be like in these HDX bins for now, because I'm living out in the wilderness and there could be wild animals. So I think that this is going to be good enough to keep in here to keep my kitchen going. I may move that microwave over to where I'm going to be sleeping. So when I'm over in that area, there's also going to be AC. It'll give me some bare minimum capabilities. So there will be a sink and a microwave, and I might even have a coffee maker or something over there. I'm really missing the coffee maker. You know, all of the things that you would typically see when you're spending the night in a room somewhere, right? So, I'm just trying to think, what would I need over there? Just, you know, because I like to do meal prep, right? So I just need, I'm going to have stuff. Oh yeah, a little refrigerator. Like probably I saw something that was just a refrigerator at Walmart, and I kind of wished I had picked it up. And it was just a refrigerator, and it was about half the size of this. And so I was thinking I might put one of those over in the other place as well. But this will be my full kitchen. And if I get a freezer, a chest freezer, that's what they're called, I would probably put it in here. But everything, you know, any food stuff does kind of need to be protected. But things seem to be going pretty good. And I have 3 cats now, 2 kittens and a big tomcat that loves to cuddle and eat. But he's kind of nice to the kittens that just showed up, it seems. And so I really need to start feeding the cats, and they will take care of a lot of the varmin that might try to get in here. And I have had mice. I've had a mouse experience, a mouse in the house problem once. I mean, it wasn't a big problem, but it's not something you want. And the cats are, everybody says, when you're off-grid in any area where there might be a lot of mice, rats, things like that, the cats can really take care of that problem. So, that's what I'm going to do to keep my kitchen going. This is going to be expressly for my kitchen. But I have to say that if you had even a smaller area than I did, you're off-grid, maybe you're getting your final setup going, and you don't already have like an RV with a plug, you know, you might want to get a different unit to get electricity if you have an RV, like, because they make these with like the RV plugs, I guess they're called. I'm not real familiar with how that works, but I know there's they do have capabilities, and those are going to be a little more expensive, and that's great. But this is, you could get along real good with this if you wanted to have a refrigerator. But you got to give up this idea about having everything the way you had it on grid in the city in your house before, right? And if you don't have a wood stove yet, you know, you can buy for less than $100. I haven't set it up yet. I bought like a metal fire pit thing that also has like cooking apparatus. So I'm real excited to get that put together and start using that. So you could be using fire outside to cook with. And I anticipate too in the summer, you know, since I don't really need electricity for heat, since I've got this, although I am using my electric blanket at night because I'm not using the fire yet. I like it cold. Most people would not be able to stand it. Most people would already have a fire going by now. And there's been mornings where I'm like, oh, I need a fire. When it first snowed, all my wood was outside wet in the snow. And I'm like, I guess, thank God for that electric blanket. And I think I spent the day in the electric blanket. But I do need to get that going because I know it's going to get colder. But in addition to this system, I highly recommend having something like a Delta 1 and something that actually is more comparable to this Delta 2 is the Opus Mega 1. And the Opus Mega 1, I believe, I need to call them too. It's hard for me to extrapolate the information for sure. Takes 800 watts of solar panels compared to this. And the the Mega 1 by Opus is less than $500. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing with the Mega 1, but time will tell if it's going to stand the test of time and maintain or build up the same kind of reputation that EcoFlow has for quality and reliability. I've heard Anchor, a lot of customers seem to feel very satisfied with the reliability of the Anchor products too, just FYI. And I've gotten mixed reviews from Bluetti, but I have decided to sort of invest in EcoFlow products and Opus products. Not to say that I wouldn't invest in any other solar type products, but I definitely want to do honest reviews of my experience with these things and give people an idea of what they can expect. And unfortunately, I'm real wordy. And I try to explain everything, right? And I feel like when I talk, I'm like all over the place. Maybe I am. And then hopefully as I go along, I'll make some more condensed videos that are organized. And I've been kind of working on putting something together where I'm like, here's the information for all you people that don't want to listen to all these details. Now, I am the kind of person who likes people that go into a lot of details about what's happening, because that's where I learn all kinds of good stuff. But, you know, you got to be interested in the topic. Anyways, so this is Crystal here in the Lost Surfer Shack in Arizona, living off grid on the whole property is called the Rain Dance Ranch, which this has been my dream for a long time, to own a piece of property free and clear, live off grid, and call it the Rain Dance Ranch. Like, you know, that's the most important thing. But yeah, I conceived of this Rain Dance Ranch idea back in 2020 when I moved onto a little ranch space. It was a horse property in the city of Phoenix. And man, I love that place, and I would love to have been able to stay there, but it just kept getting more and more expensive, and it wasn't operating as a ranch because I was busy running around just trying to pay rent and all the stuff that you need to do. And I'm just not a big, huge money maker, and I was never able to take it to the next level. And now here I am. I own my property, but I'm starting to run out of money, and I'm okay for now, but I got to get a job. So hopefully I can find something here coming up soon, or I'll find a way to start making money selling on eBay or something like that, which I do have a few ideas, and I am going to start selling on eBay. But I still think I need to get a job. I should be making full-time money for a while, and hopefully I can find something, and I'm going to have to commute. But eventually I'll be able to really zero in and focus on what I'm doing here at the ranch, because there's still stuff that needs to be built up, and there's just going to need to be money made. So, and the truck could break down, you know? Anyways, okay, now we're at 40 minutes. I hope that gives you a good idea of what you could expect with an EcoFlow Delta 2 and all of the equipment that you would need to have your basic needs met. And I'm going to be making a video about my kitchen. I'm going to be rearranging this. And like I said, I highly recommend this Delta 2 with the 500 watt panels, because it's very economical. This system is very economical, and eventually you could buy a third and fourth battery. You can't use 3 or 4 batteries all together, you know, as you're utilizing this or charging it, but you can have the charged up batteries on the side waiting for you. And right now they're running $700 on the EcoFlow website at the end of October 2024. So if you find about the battery on sale for $500 or $600 on the EcoFlow website, or even less. You know, every once in a while they have flash sales. You know, that's a pretty good deal. And right now I don't feel like it's worth it for me because I have my generator. So getting the gas generator as an adjunct to any solar system is a good investment. You don't need a lot, but it'll just take the edge off. So you could get away with spending $3,000. Okay. And that's getting decent deals, but not necessarily smashing deals, and mostly new products to have a pretty good setup to get started off-grid with solar. And that's another video I want to make, breaking down a comparison of all of the things, the different options you could choose. And, you know, that's kind of what I would suggest budgeting. Now, and that includes the gas generator. I feel like a gas generator is actually part of your solar energy plan. It's more of a keep your batteries going plan, but but yeah, you're gonna need that. All right. So, okay, we're already over 40 minutes. So thank you if you watched this all the way through, and if you got something from it, I'm glad to hear. Let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you think would be the best way to set up an initial, you know, minimum survival situation in terms of utilizing solar power. Let me know how you've said it. Maybe you've already done it in some way, or you have better options. And I realize that a lot of the options might include having a lot more know-how and having to do a little more construction than getting a power station. But you're going to have a lot of work when you go off grid. And so you want to pick and choose where you're going to make things convenient for you. And getting a power station, I think, is one way to make things convenient, especially if you really don't know a lot about solar in the beginning. You know, just enough to get started, right? Okay. Well, Crystal, off grid at the Rain Dance Ranch. When it rains, go out and dance.